Good morning, YouTubers. Well, we're on with the jacuzzi. We are draining it at the moment. I've got that big silly rubber ring underneath it, trying to get all the water out of it because it's very, very heavy, water. I know you know that already. Every litre is a kilogram, and so goodness knows how many tons of water that thing holds. So, yeah, I've got to get all the water out before we deflate it and remove it to the bins. And just to add insult to injury, our microwave is packed up. It actually comes on, it goes around and the light comes on and everything, but nothing gets warm, it's just stone cold. So luckily microwaves don't cost much, but they don't seem to last very long, do they? There's been another plane crash. This time in South Korea. It set off from Bangkok, I believe, going back to South Boeing, another Boeing, and it clearly came into land with no undercarriage. Now, that's not an unusual thing, I mean that is something that may happen, and that's something that pilots are trained for. And again, it's not a big deal, and it should be a survivable situation, because if your wheels don't come down, you land as you would land normally, but without any wheels, and the airplane will skid to a halt, either on the concrete or on the grass next to the runway. But this thing, I watched it coming into land. There's video footage of it coming into land, and the pilot landed it okay on the ground, but he wasn't on the runway. And it went straight into an embankment, and it just blew up as soon as it hit the embankment, and I don't think there were many survivors. And that's rather unusual, because these aircraft are designed to land without wheels. It's a possibility that one day the wheels won't come down, and you simply land them on the runway as you would normally. Touch down at the beginning of the runway and just skid along, and all the fire engines are chasing you, and the first thing they do is they smother it in foam. But you can't do that if the thing's impacted with a wall. That is very odd. I mean, that suggests to me that the pilot couldn't control the aircraft properly, and there was talk of a bird strike. Well, the pilots definitely couldn't land the aircraft properly. I looked at some of the footage, and I don't know if the flaps were deployed. I couldn't really tell from the angle. I'll have to look at more footage. It's only just happened. I'll have to look at more footage and see. But the flaps should have been down as normal, coming in at a normal speed, and touched down in the normal place, and then it would have just skidded to a halt. And it shouldn't have exploded into. I mean, there's always a risk of fire with a belly landing, but they would have been notified. That all the rescue services would have been waiting, and they normally wait at either or both ends. I mean, it depends at the airport and the procedures the fire have got in place, but they have this special foam, and they race up behind the aircraft or ahead of it, and they just smother any fire. But you've got no chance if you've slammed into a wall during the landing run, because I mean, the aircraft should have skidded to a halt quite safely, and everyone should have been able to get off. And there's obviously something very wrong if they weren't able to do that. That just does suggest some sort of control failure. I mean, those aircraft can fly on one engine. They've got backup hydraulics. It's there's no reason, unless there's a lot of things have gone wrong. And normally when an accident occurs, it's not just one thing, because if one thing goes wrong, you can sort it. There's a way around it. We'll do this. But if one or more things go wrong, and the suggestion that there was a bird strike, that may be true. That may be true. But people, and I've said this all along, if you're flying on a commercial aircraft, always sit at the back. Because 9 times out of 10, if there's an incident, anyone who survives was in the back. And that's no guarantee either. But anywhere from the wing spars rearwards. You know, you don't want to be sitting at the front. Okay, aeroplanes never reverse into hills. Sorry for that joke, I do apologise for that. It's a pilot joke. Very strange, very strange. The other aircraft that crashed in Kazakhstan or somewhere earlier in the week, again, you got the tail section of the aircraft, and I saw that land as well on video, and it didn't appear to flare. It came into land and it just spanked straight into the ground and burst into flames. And they saw the back end on its back. Presumably people escaped from that back part, but there was all shrapnel in the tail. You know, once it was pointed out, someone pointed it out, you look again and you think, oh yes, and it's all denting in. So there's rumours afoot that was shot down by the Russians itself. They shot their own aeroplane down, mistaking it for a drone, a Ukrainian drone or something like that. So, but anyway, the Airbus A320 seems to be the most safe aeroplane to fly on. You know, you get a 737, you're like that. Oh, is it going to be fine? I mean, the 737s are fine. They're a good aeroplane. I'm not knocking the 737. But they do tend to they crash more. Well, there's probably made more of them, haven't they, than Airbus. But another disaster that shouldn't have happened